BMX Crypto Podcast, where we interview the builders shaping on chain culture. Today, we're sitting down with an absolute OG, builder on base, you guys, co founder of BMX, advisor to Veil Cash, and advisor to 0x deployer of Bankr Bot. We have the one and only Meowphasaurus here with us today. You guys, this is a rare appearance on our show. Co founder of BMX is here with us today, and we're very excited to dive into the first few weeks of Deli Swap. So, Meow, before we dive in, would love to just cover our disclaimer really quick. Deez, if you want to take us away, feel free.
Yeah, happy to have the fireside in-house, if you will, today. But before we get started, anything we cover is non-financial advice. It's for educational purpose, so please DYOR. And we don't have to get any BMX updates because we're gonna be chatting about all of it here today.
We're getting the full scoop from Meowphasaurus himself today, you guys. So if you're tuned in today, feel free to retweet, share this out so we can get more folks educated on what BMX is building. Now, without further ado, I would love to pass it off to Meowphasaurus. How's it going, man?
It's good, going great. Excited to be here, excited to dive in. And it's always nice when it's a bear market and people are afraid. We finally get some time to focus on the fundamentals.
Absolutely. Yeah. A common thread I've been hearing recently is a lot of folks just going heads down, building, preparing for the new year. So I am really curious to hear, takeaways from this year, what we're looking forward to in the new year. So we'll get into all that. But to kick things off, I want to talk about Deli Swap. So now that Deli Swap has been live for a few weeks, how are you and the team feeling about the launch? And what's the current vibe around Deli Swap?
Oh, super positive. I mean, the launch went extremely well. Beforehand we did a individual audit followed by a audit contest, and really ensuring that the safety and security of Deli Swap, is as high as it can be, is paramount. And so, launching is kind of come secondary to that. And so since the launch, we haven't had any issues. With exploits with Balancer, being exploited in Bunny and recently Yearn's White ETH product. Security is absolutely one of our first priorities. And yeah, I think overall the functionality of it, it's working really well. Everything everything works. It works as intended, which isn't always the case with a launch. There was no major issues, no outages, nothing went down. No one's funds, there's no issues. I mean, that's all you can wish for, I think, as a co-founder and as someone, protocol launching a product is just I would much rather launch into a bear market than launch and have something go wrong. So the market itself is probably, the only downside, I guess, to launching DeliSwap. But otherwise, yeah, we're happy, we're excited, and excited to keep growing it.
Well, something I just want to say, just to give the team some flowers, I think that is a testament of the BMX team's resilience and absolute conviction in what you guys are building. It's like, I think during bear markets are when we see a lot of folks, like kind of the fair weathered friends, just disappear from the industry. And you see the real builders emerge who are like, we're here no matter what the season is. So, yeah, my next question for you, Meow, I want to ask, just zooming out about the bigger vision behind Deli Swap. We brought up how Deli Swap was built with a user first philosophy. Can you tell our viewers and listeners what this practically means for them as they use Deli Swap?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like DeliSwap is a lot of things. It's not just, a simple swap. And one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was prioritizing trader outcomes. So, if you're someone who wants to trade tokens, and you want best price, best execution, you really have to look at a protocol and the project that you're trading on. And every, different interface, they may have a front end fee or an add-on fee. They may only route through their own pools. They may only route through one aggregator. And so there's a lot of like technical layers underneath, every kind of protocol and every interface that determines the trader's outcome, meaning, how many tokens do they get for, their buy or their sell. And that's something that we really wanted to focus on because DeliSwap is built with a meta aggregator as the interface for the swap. And it's different than anything else because, if you go, to Uniswap, for example, and you trade directly on Uniswap, your trade is only going to route through the Uniswap pools, which are vast and they have deep liquidity. And, you know, you're not going to get a horrible trade execution. If you go to another DEX on base, those trades are only going to route through their pools. And so if you're trading, Bitcoin, ETH, USDC, or a blue chip, the difference in outcome may not be significant, right? It may be like a dollar or even cents. But for some
Hmm.
people in parts of the world, that difference could be major. And so what we wanted to focus on was, regardless of Deli Swap's liquidity and the liquidity that is deposited within it, we want the trader to be able to come to Deli Swap and route through every available on-chain liquidity pool, regardless of whether that's Deli Swap, Uniswap, Aerodrome. We want the trader to have access to all on-chain liquidity so that the trader gets the best outcome, the best price outcome. And that's what Deli Swap's, front end does, is it routes through multiple aggregators. So every aggregator has their own logic, and some aggregators maybe have less efficient logic, and other aggregators have more efficient logic. But for every trade, how your trade will route through on-chain liquidity is, every aggregator is a little different. And so for certain tokens, some aggregators will give better prices or worse prices. And so that's why for DeliSwap, we really went to the fundamentals of, like, we want a meta aggregator. And a meta aggregator routes through multiple aggregators, giving the user, it populates and shows you the best price that you
That's
can get
amazing.
through those aggregators. And we didn't add on any fees. So that's another thing, is like, we have no front end fees for this. If you swap on DeliSwap doesn't make money unless your trade routes through DeliSwap's liquidity pools. And that's, different. A lot of UXs have front end fees, they have additional fees, or if they don't have a fee, they're only routing through their own liquidity. So maybe you're not paying a front end fee, but your trade outcome, maybe you end up losing, $10, $50, $100 because of the poor execution. So it gets really technical and really complicated. But I think that anyone who is in this space trading and on this, listening to this live stream, you basically need to spend some time to understand, every single trade you do. I mean, some people are doing hundreds of trades a month. I mean, or some people even in a week. And so, if every single trade you're losing $1, $2, $20, $30, I mean, it can really add up over time. And so that I think that's the biggest unique detail about DeliSwap, is that, as far as I'm aware, we are the first, a protocol to say we will always prioritize trader outcomes over DeliSwap's, profits. And so, you can use DeliSwap regardless of the liquidity that's deposited there, and know that you're going to get the best available execution on chain.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's like a very
and
user first approach. And it sounds like the team has made tough decisions that they're not easy decisions per se, but it does put the user first. And Deez, I know you'll have a lot of things to say here.
no, I just wanted to add too, a subtle thing that people may not have noticed as well, is the coin gecko terminal chart that's embedded there. So a lot of times it's muscle memory for a lot of us to bring up a chart on another screen. But on DeliSwap interface, you can go there and see the candles and put the time frame you want on those, whether it's the minute charts or the weekly charts, and then also choose the aggregator. So it's just a really nice experience. I've actually had to switch my own personal muscle memory over to go to our own interface to go swap, because I've typically just pulled up an aggregator, pulled up my charts, and I've been doing that for years. But it's so nice to just go to one URL, deliswap.com, and you get it all.
Yeah, that's what I love too. Like, from a UX standpoint, I think we kind of eliminated the need to have two tabs open. If you go to deliswap.com and then you go to the swap button, you're going to have a chart, on the left, and then the meta aggregator on the right. And so whatever token that you select, the chart will automatically, match the token selection. So like if you selected, I don't know, TYBG or whatever token, ETH, Bitcoin, the chart will automatically populate on the left. And so, unless you're trying to trade like 1 minute candles or something, I mean, this pretty much is good enough for most people who are trading. And so it's just really nice. I mean, you don't need to have two tabs. You can see the chart. Even on mobile, it has the meta aggregator and then the chart. And so you know that you're getting the best pricing execution on chain, and then you have the chart right there. You don't need to go, to two different tabs or anything like that. And yeah, just really focusing, I think, on the UX, um, and making it, I figure that if I can make this app the app that I always want to use and prefer over all other apps, then that's probably the goal, right? And yeah, I've pretty much eliminated going to Gecko Terminal, because we have it right here on Deli Swap embedded, and without a add-on fee.
I love that. And Meow, a question I also wanted to ask you, just out of personal curiosity, is you see a lot of DeFi protocols out there that really use fees and emissions, and BMX has chosen to not do that with your model. So I'm curious, why has the team prioritized making that decision?
Sorry, Rachel, I got distracted.
It's okay. It's okay.
Can you repeat that?
All right, from the top. Sorry, my volume's got, sorry. So yeah, just out of curiosity, you see a lot of DeFi protocols out there who really do use fees and emissions, and BMX has chosen to kind of go, a less common path. Why has the team made that a priority?
Yeah. So I think just kind of being around, in the early days of DeFi summer, and where we had food farms and everything like that, and emissions were, you were just taking your token to collect emissions from the same token. And just kind of being in the industry for a long time and seeing how, different incentive structures work, and how they flow and how they attract volume and fees, but then you have inflation that offsets that. And what there's an old saying, it's like, you always have to ask where the yield's coming from, because someone is paying the price, right? Like, someone's always paying the price, when there's inflation and emissions, and those sort of incentive structures. And so for BMX, I think that was something that we were really keen on, is like, how can we build an on-chain protocol that is very sustainable, and knowing that that will be very, a very painful and long process, because when you use emissions, and sometimes infinite emissions to generate incentive for liquidity, and then that liquidity will bring in more volume and fees, and so then it looks like the protocol is doing really well because the volume's high, the revenue's high. But then when you look at net earnings, I mean, across the board, you're pretty much negative net earnings on every protocol. Very few protocols are positive net earnings. And it kind of throws you back to like the Uber growth phase, where Uber basically, they were giving drivers, like, I think 80% or something, and the costs were super low, and it wasn't sustainable. They were losing money, right? Just burning investor money. And over time, then they started to tighten that ship. But I think in on-chain world, how the liquidity mechanics work is that you have, a pool has to have TD on it to capture, aggregator volume when trades are routing through aggregators. So if a trade is happening on a platform that is not routing through an aggregator, and it's only routing through their own pools, those trades are siloed, and those traders are siloed into the liquidity of that protocol. And like I said, oftentimes that ends up being a worse outcome for those traders. So I think pushing everyone to aggregators is the right thing to do. We saw that in the base app. The base app integrated 0x and 1inch, and your trades in the base app route through aggregators. And then the aggregators go on chain, and then they look at all the liquidity to give you the best route that they can give you. And I think just moving everyone to aggregators is the right thing to do. And that's what we've done with Deli Swap. And then pairing that with an organic and sustainable incentive structure, where it's real on-chain activity generates, revenue and fees. And then those revenue and fees become the incentive. And it's really hard to do. But I think that that's just the right thing to do. And so I think,
That's
we are
being
one.
based right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, right? Like, I mean, if you're looking at it from like an investor's point of view, right, you just want to throw, gasoline on the fire, and that's what infinite emissions, or emissions in general do. And uh, incentives aren't bad. I'm not saying that incentives are a bad thing. Like, bootstrapping liquidity is necessary. The BMX governance, voted to approve BMX tokens as incentives to bootstrap liquidity, because in the beginning, if the pools have low liquidity, they aren't going to capture as much routing volume, which means that they won't capture as much fees and bring in more liquidity. So like bootstrapping liquidity with tokens is not a bad thing, by any means. But I think that, basically having a printer in the back that, allows infinite emissions, it's just not the way that we want to build. And it is definitely the harder way to build though, by far. But that's the goal, is that like, if we can't create a sustainable, a sustainable flywheel that really, creates value from real on-chain economic activity, then we'd rather try doing that and fail than, just create a protocol that has infinite emissions and pump those out, incessantly.
And that's something for
And then
those of you watching. This is a characteristic of Meowphasaurus. He really does things on hard mode because he does the things that are right, not easy. That's something I've always noticed with Meow and the entire BMX team. They're doing what's right for the long-term sustainability, not just short-term gains. So I absolutely love that. And Deez, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add it dives into the trust and the relationship that we build with the community and the token holders, because when emissions are ingrained into the system, it's there over the past 3-4 years, especially after the points meta, entire communities, groups of people who've entered crypto, they've been baptized by this farming culture, if you will. And so emissions are a very easy signal to send out, or very long incentive campaigns that, hey, we don't respect our token to an extent where we're just going to print it, and it mathematically will lose value as the supply goes up. It's just aerodynamics. And so it is kind of scary, building this way, because there's a lot of trust involved. You can look at the BMX Staker dashboard. You can look at where the fees are coming from. It's a very solid foundation, but you really do have to trust everyone else in the ecosystem. I mean, there's nothing holding the stakers back from unstaking. The fees are what you get. But the potential is also there. It's the flip side of that coin, because you can see if once the flywheel does start kicking up, any kind of traction that you see, any kind of word of mouth, community growth, it has exponentially higher odds of sticking and succeeding and actually, spinning the flywheel in the term that we all really wanted to use. So yeah, I just wanted to add that on as well. It's a system of trust and vulnerability. But yeah, it's like Meow said, it's the right thing to do, and it's a much easier foundation to stand on when you have to go and look people in the eyes at conferences and look people, and say, hey, this is what we're building, this is what we're doing. I know we have an anon culture here, but we do have personal relationships with builders and community out there. But anyway, we can move on.
Also, I want to comment on that. I've seen when the light bulb goes off for people when they're learning about BMX. I love that moment when people are like, wait, you're doing this way? Like, that's awesome, I love that moment when it starts to really click for people. And by the way, for all of you watching today, if you have any questions, if there's something that's not really clicking for you and you want to ask about it, towards the end of the stream today, we will be doing an AMA. So feel free to drop your questions in the live stream chat and we will come back around and answer those. Also, hello, everybody. I see the whole fam is out there locked in right now. So GM, everybody. Okay, so we were on the topic of sustainability. So Meow, you've said that BMX is building sustainable DeFi, not seasonal DeFi. So for the crypto curious out there, can you explain how sustainability applies to decentralized finance? We've touched on that a bit here, but for seasonal DeFi, is this a type of DeFi that's here one cycle and gone the next cycle?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to kind of tackle that question. I mean, we can talk about it as like, trends like perp dexes, prediction markets. If we go back in time, just straight up, LP farms. There's just so many different types of protocols, and more recently launch pads, went crazy and everyone was focused on launch pads, and so there's just those trends that kind of come and go over time. There's been a lot. And then there's also, deeper discussions about tokenomics and tokenomics trends that come and go and get tested and disappear, or they remain. And so I think that, that again is kind of what we focused on, is like, we've been building as a team for 4.5 years, and we're still here, we're still building, and we've been through everything, there could everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and we're still here. and we've been through all the macro crashes, and
That part, I love that.
the fear by regulator, season where everyone was, just feeling the pressure, and you just have to make a decision. Are you going to wake up today and build, or are you going to be too afraid to build anything, and not build anything, and
I
and we
think that's a
didn't. I
good
mean,
philosophy for life too.
yeah,
You don't just
yeah.
quit when things get hard. That's when you double down on your resilience, your conviction. You keep showing up every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, regardless of what you're doing in life, you're always going to have external pressure, and people don't want you to win. People don't want you to succeed, and that's just human nature. Whether it's a competitor, whether it's and the levels go really deep. I mean, like, if we look back, I mean, the fact that Operation Choke Point is confirmed to have been real. There were so many people who said it wasn't real, and it is, and now it's been published that it was real. And the people who built through those times felt it. And I think that it's just it time and market. I always say this, and so I won't spend too much time on it, but proof of work isn't just a Bitcoin philosophy, it's a life philosophy. And proof of work and time and market are, in my opinion, really strong indicators of whether a team or project will be successful. It's not the only indicator, but it definitely helps. And that's something that we're proud to say, is like, we've been here for a very long time. We've been through all the ups
How
and all the
long can you
downs.
can you share how long BMX has been around? Because I think that's an interesting data point to look at. Like you guys have a very long history and track record of building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, BMX has been around, since the early days of Base. And then before that, our team was building on Phantom, which is now Sonic. So as a team, we've been building together for around like 4.5 years. And then BMX has been, here since very, very early days of Base.
Yeah, you guys, when we say Meow is an OG builder, he has been around since the beginning of base, building nonstop. And this isn't on my questions here, but I just want to acknowledge the fact that you are someone that goes out and really uplifts different communities. Like you're a big supporter of Thank You Base God. I feel like you kind of understand that community growth is not singular, but we all go further together. And I see you really championing different communities that you believe in on base as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a topic for sure. There's just so much that, if we look at base as its own kind of network, there's just so much that needs to be built and should be built. And I think, just because you're a separate team or separate protocol doesn't mean that you can't work together, you can't build together. And base overall can go very, very far and very, very quick if everyone, is kind of working together, building together, and kind of carving out these different paths for each protocol. um and we saw a lot of that in the first year of base. I mean, it was very healthy culture, and everyone wanted to work together, build together. And then in year two, it kind of turned, and I don't know if that was the global market, it's starting to get into the downswings, or what. But everyone started to kind of want to do everything themselves, and that's not a knock to the everything exchange at all, by any means. But I think that everyone kind of, in some ways, followed that trend of, like, we want to do everything, and we want to do it all. And um and I think now, actually, more than in the last year, people are starting to realize, like, it's not a good idea to try to do everything. Maybe it's better if
Do
you,
something
you
well, not
focus on
try
your
to do everything.
strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and do it well. And so, I think we are starting to see some glimmers of teams, that are realizing that, and wanting to work together more. But that's always been a philosophy for us. Like, we've always wanted to build with other teams, and that's been demonstrated over years. We have multiple product integrations that we've done with other teams, on our NFT exchange carousel. We worked with SudoSwap. We worked with Sealed, which is an NFT project on Ethereum from 0x and GMI. We have, we've licensed out some contracts with them, and there's a revenue share split on some of that. And we're just a team that we're always, if there is a solid contract out there that fits our needs and it works really well, we would much rather work, with that author, with that dev, or with that protocol, and work together and build together, than go in and rebuild it ourselves, right? Like, we want to work with other teams, and we want to scale, And we're not profit maxis. I mean, you can see that throughout all of our products and all of our designs. We want
Your
to
user
build,
maxis.
yeah, like we want to build, a product that is, it gives you the best experience as a user, right? And
Yes.
if we do that, then we'll be successful, and the profits can come. That's fine. But we don't want to force people. And we demonstrated that through our tokenomics. Like
Mm-hmm.
BMX doesn't have multi-year locks. God forbid something happens in your life and you need to access capital, and now it's locked for, a year or 2 years or 4 years or however many years someone wants to implement a lock for. And the only way to get out of that is to sell and have this, massive discount. It just doesn't feel right. I mean, that's your money. You bought, tokens, you locked them, and then suddenly, if 2 months later you need to sell them, you take this like 18 or 30% or 40% discount and lose that much of your capital. It sounds crazy to me. And for BMX, our single staking is a safety module, and you can stake in it, and there's no locks. But there are multiplier points. And so those multiplier points, what they do is they, function to reward loyalty and longevity. So users are incentivized to remain staked because they are earning multiplier points. And then what the multiplier points do is, they're not transferable, they have no value, but what they do is they help drive more of the rewards that are distributed to the staking pool to that user. And so that's a way to reward loyalty. And we developed this. This is our own product. But it's a way to, reward that user for their loyalty in comparison to the size of the tokens that they staked and the duration that they've remained staked. And so, if something happens to that user in their life and they need to access, their capital, they need to sell their tokens, like we we're fine with that. Like we do not feel
Right.
like telling people, like, you have to lock these tokens for 4 years and you could never sell, and sell
You
shame
offer more
people.
flexibility, more sovereignty for the user.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And just
I
more
like that.
freedom. Yeah. We definitely believe in privacy. We believe in freedom. We believe in personal rights. And yeah, we want to build products that really make sense and are not forcing things down people's throat.
I love that. And you guys, the best way I could, I feel like, explain the BMX crew, it's like, the people who originally got into crypto for the philosophy, for the ideals, for the original core beliefs of why Bitcoin was created, why blockchain was created. I feel like the BMX team really aligns with those ethos and not only believes in it but practices it through their work. And Meow, you also talked about something interesting. You talked about other projects and people getting involved with BMX. I think that's a good segue to this next question. I want to talk about people interested in becoming a liquidity provider for a moment. So BMX talks about productive liquidity quite a lot. How do you explain it to someone new to DeFi, and how is providing liquidity on Deli Swap different from providing liquidity elsewhere?
Yeah. So yeah, our core product is this token called Wrap BLT. And it's a token that it's a vault token. And Wrap BLT is a wrapper, right? And so what Wrap BLT is fundamentally underneath is USDC, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. And so, a lot of people want to call it an index. It's not completely an index though, but it is a mix of assets. It's this basket of assets, and they're all blue chip assets. So like our native token is not in there. There's no altcoins in there. It's just the blue chips, USDC, CBBTC, and and they each have what's called a target weight. So like USDC's target weight is 50%, Bitcoin's is 30%, and Ethereum is 20%. And the reason it's called a target weight is because it can fluctuate. And the reason it can fluctuate is because those assets are, deposited into a pool, and it's the mix of the three, and they function as spot liquidity. So aggregators are all integrated and can route through regular spot trades through that pool, and as well as perpetual market making liquidity for perp traders, on top of our platform called BMX Classic. And so what we've done is we've created this pool of assets that is, functionally working on chain, and, either being used as spot liquidity or perp liquidity, and generating real fees from real economic activity. And so we combined, all of those three tokens into one token that is transferable. And you can trade it, you can move it around, you can stake it, use it as collateral. So that's what composability means, is that it can move around and operate, like a regular token. But one of the cool aspects of that is that it's auto compounding the fees that it's earning in the spot, from the
Right.
spot pool and from the perps. But it doesn't, it does have risk. Like it doesn't come without risk. And so some of the risks are very, traditional to providing liquidity anywhere else, which are in permanent loss. And in unique to Wrap BLT is trader profits from perps. So that liquidity is functioning as perp liquidity, meaning that if a perp trader on BMX Classic is profitable, the market makers, which are the Wrap BLT holders, pay them out. If the perp trader is not profitable and loses, then the trader, pays into the entire basket of funds. And so then Wrap BLT is earning, right, from the trader loss and also from the, fees, in addition to the spot fees. And so, all of this is GMX V1, but what our innovation was wrapping the liquidity into this composable auto compounding yield bearing token called Wrap BLT. And then we said, okay, what else can we do to offset risk? Because that's one of the main things we look at, is like we want to, increase value and decrease risk. And so we took Wrap BLT and we said, what if we built other products that drive revenue into the vault, right? Into BLT and Wrap BLT, and increase the profitability, to help offset the risk of trader profits. And so that's, since then we've built BMX Freestyle, which is another perp dex, but it's an intent perp dex, and it has its own, market makers. And so basically, BMX Freestyle is a front end. Um, as far as BMX is concerned, we offer a front end and an access point for traders to trade perps. And there's like 350, 400 pairs that they can trade. And that product generates revenue. And then a percentage of that revenue goes into BLT. Then we have Carousel, which is a pretty much a standard NFT exchange at this point. But as we go into the future, we plan to kind of bridge it out into what we call just NFAs, or non-fungible assets. So that can encompass a lot more things than just your traditional PFP and FT. And so for now, Carousel has zero NFT fee trading. So like, for right now, you could trade any NFT on it, any locked, token position, for zero fees. And then we've built out some unique products, and unique ways to sell NFTs that integrate a lot of, um, kind of like custom logic, but then also kind of like random chance products, and just some cool things for NFT people. And those generate revenue. And that also goes, a portion of that also goes into BLT. And now we have Deli Swap, right? And so Deli Swap is where you can take Wrap BLT and then you can pair it with another asset like you would on any other DEX. And then you can earn spot trading fees, just like you would on any other DEX.
Hmm.
And so really, like, what you're seeing is what BMX has been building, and we've been building this for a long time, is infrastructure, right? On the bottom layer, it's infrastructure, it's core products, right? So you have, our classic perp decks, our freestyle perp decks, the NFT market, and all of those, direct revenue into Wrap BLT, which is a singular asset that has underlying blue chip assets only, USDC, Bitcoin, and ETH. It's composable, it's auto compounding yield from all of these sources. And so it's multiple revenue streams going into one token that's auto compounding. And so, you can take that token and then you can earn more on it. And you have the freedom to do that through Deli Swap. You can take that token and use it as collateral and borrow stables against it on Morpho. And so while you borrow stables against it, it's still auto compounding. So like your capital is deployed on chain, generating fees, not without risk, but nothing in this industry is without risk. And
Part.
and
Yep.
yeah, and use it as collateral. And one of the cool things about doing that is that over time, if the vault is profitable, then what you would see is your OI or your LTV ratio, it would be basically decreasing, right? Because the asset is auto compounding, and therefore increasing in value. While if you borrow stables, that's static. And so yeah, I think that Wrap BLT is ahead of its time by by a long shot. Some of the people who I think understand vaults are a team like Morpho. Morpho has tweeted many
Shout out
times
to
about
Morpho.
vaults are the future, and they really are. And that's what Wrap BLT is. It's a composable yield generating vault token. And so
Okay. I do want to show we have some resources here, by the way. If anybody really wants to sink their teeth into this too, you can check out the YouTube channel. We have so many videos and resources on this, you guys. Just want to throw that out there.
yeah, I mean, this is like there's man, I talk to a lot of people. Everyone's like, this is too complicated. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, if it's too complicated for you, like honestly, at this point, I'm pretty bold about it. Like, you need to ask yourself a question on why you can't, focus and pay attention to it. And if you don't want to, like, we don't like that's okay for us. Like, we know what we're building, and the people who spend the time to dig into it, they completely understand it. And so, if it's this barrier of entry on like this is too complex, I'm moving on to something else. Maybe you're not the user for us, and that's okay. Like, our products are complex because we're building something new. We're building something that hasn't been built before, and we're doing it in a very unique way. And it does require more time to understand than a simple fork. If you go and you fork something that's already been done, like, yeah, people already understand that, right? But if you take the time to pay attention, then you might learn something new. And that's what's exciting about BMX. One of the things that really stood out to me was when we did our audit with Sherlock, and the auditor was like, finally something that's exciting to me. I see the same stuff every day. This is something like new and innovative, and it's sustainable. You don't have infinite emissions printing to support it. And yeah, it gets, I think BMX and Rap BLT get the highly technical OG DeFi community excited. And we do have, we're not immune to it. Like, we do have an issue breaking through to more mainstream and retail users. And it's something that, we've definitely recognized, and we've been working on, and we've been paying attention to it, and improving it, I think. But it also requires, I think, time. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is like the app level app level products are kind of top funnel, right? And that's app level products are generally very simple. They do like one or two things max, and they're really easy to understand. Well, today, like, we've been building out all of this complex infrastructure that in the future app products will be able to be built on. And so I think that there's also this like time and market piece where, like, we have to like, when we're talking about things, we're talking about infra, we're talking about this wrap BLT asset and the underlying assets and perp market making liquidity and the fees coming in, and then you can take that and go on a Deli Swap. Like, I understand it can get complicated, but what I think the main takeaway is that that's all infrastructure, and that can all
Hmm.
be abstracted in the future, and then we can build apps on top of that. And the reason why that's so important is because, when as a protocol, if you don't own the infra that you're building on, like, things can change quickly. I mean, we've heard of stories where, API issuers, protocols built on top of an API, and now the API increases fees from, 5,000 a month to 50,000 a month, and now this entire business is compromised because of that. And we've experienced it firsthand. We've experienced firsthand having infrastructure that we were building on top of be be removed, and our ability to build on it was removed. And I think that was, the motivation to build Deli Swap is we need to own the infrastructure underneath it, and we need to make sure that that infrastructure can't be pulled out from under us. And I'm very happy and proud that our team has shipped it in, I think it was around 6 months, not including the audits. But yeah, I mean, it's there, it's ours, and it can never be taken away, and we love that. And so
It's
what's exciting,
incredible.
yeah, what's exciting is that, like, now we're working on our first app, and I think where things will become a lot easier to understand is when this first app pushes live, because people will see that, you don't it, the app user doesn't really even need to know anything about wrap BLT or Deli Swap or any of this. It will just be kind of this layer, technical layer underneath, and most of it will be abstracted away. And so
Hmm.
it's exciting.
I think
It's
that's
a
really
long
great
process.
that, again, you guys have done things slow, steady, methodical, took your time with the audience audits. You didn't want to move fast and break things, but really take your time methodically to do things right. I think that's very admirable and something we don't often see in this space. I feel like people just want to move very quick and break things. So
Yeah,
that's awesome. By the
and to
way, I'm
touch on
seeing.
that, yeah, to rip on that time piece, Rach, before I forgot, is even going back to WBLT and why it's powerful. I know we want to, kind of move fast, and people who don't have the time to hop in, like we are very busy. We have to keep building, but it does circle back to the fundamentals of why people should provide liquidity regardless. And I wanted to highlight just the current price action in the market, and the pain that people feel, when these assets of the future are going down in price, and maybe they need to pay for, Christmas gifts. They have expenses coming up. And so it doesn't feel good when the accessible capital goes way down in value. And so providing liquidity is really the essential tool that we have. It's market making. It's providing two assets that you want to hold on to in one market. And so for those of you that are looking to start your journey in learning about BLT and anything like that, it really does start with providing liquidity, and the magic that crypto and blockchain gives to the world, to become a market maker that was a privilege reserved for the select few, with almost any amount of capital. And so to really break that down on the simplest level is that if you want to hold the currency that you want to pay for things, so expenses in life, whatever fiat currency that is, we'll use the US dollar, that can be represented as a stable coin. But you also want the speculative nature of these harder assets, the Bitcoins, the utility coins of Ethereum of the world. So many people hold those two in separate, in tandem. So when I see people at conferences, I actually, it kind of breaks through with meme coin maxis. They're like, "Yeah, I'm holding this for life. I'm never selling." And it's like, well, there's only very small windows of time where it would feel good to sell, and that's on some kind of blow off top. And most of the time, you're just kind of waiting in anticipation. And then there's times where you really don't want to sell. It's probably in the bottom. You're like, well, this is probably going to go up. And so where I'm going with this is providing liquidity absolves the pain of trying to time the market, of trying to figure out where to sell, where to buy, where to have entries. It removes the urge to look at charts all the time, because the nature of providing liquidity is holding both tokens at the same time. And it's very hard to imagine, but that's what it is. And by doing so, yes, the overall value of that position may not go as high as the market can go, but at the same time, it won't go as low. But during that
Right.
entire time period, there's harvesting fees, because the one constant is, Arthur Hayes always says, the volatility is the movement of money through the markets in and out based on emotion, based on macro economics. And so I would hope people find, or at least when they're investigating, is there's a great deal of comfort knowing that we have the ability to access that constant movement, and that's money moving in and out, and that is providing liquidity. And so what WBLT is built, it supercharges that concept. I mean, people provide liquidity all over the place, but WBLT is what we've spent years in perfecting and maximizing that, and providing that piece. But the benefits are, like you said, come with time. We see the benefits over long periods of times, especially when the markets revert to the mean. And so we have hypothetical tools on one of our dashboards that kind of shows returns to the mean, and you can kind of play with WBLT performance and see how that goes. But it really is a product of conviction and a product of long-term thinking, and it's the antithesis of these kind of short-term spurts that we see. And so, that monologue's for us also to chop up later and hopefully use. But yeah, if you're thinking about getting in the journey, start with that. Start with, am I interested in long-term solutions? Do I want less emotion tied to the current spurs of the market? And then do I want my assets working all the time? Do I want them plugged into the constant that is velocity of money moving in and out of the market? And if those answers are yes, then the world of providing liquidity and BMX products, I think will be very interesting. Anyway, monologue over. I know you were showing that demo there.
Yeah, I thought it would go as you were talking about WBLT, thought it might go well. But I mean, we can actually play it. We're talking about WBLT a lot. Maybe we can just show this quick, like 30-second video just to give an overview to folks who are just learning about it for the first time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, fire it up.
All right, cool. WBLT, a single token backed by USDC, BTC, and ETH, designed to capture and auto-compound on-chain fees across the Base ecosystem. Vault pools on Deli Swap pair with WBLT for deep blue-chip liquidity, while its dynamic auto-balancing design ensures stability. You can pair with it, borrow against it, or build new protocols on its powerful framework. Built natively on Base, it's an institutional-grade engine with the security and transparency for the modern crypto treasury. WBLT, the premier asset on Base, designed for the future of sustainable DeFi.
It is nice to see the visual, especially the sandwich. Like, it feels nice to hold a sandwich, the
Yeah.
bread in your hands. Like,
We definitely
I
gotta
could
lean
hold a
into
sandwich
that.
for a long time, I think. Like, maybe
It
forever.
definitely makes
I
you
could
want
hold
to
a sandwich.
BLT more, like working, like just using BMX and talking about
Yeah.
WBLT.
Yeah, the thing I loved about that video too is like your electric kind of voice. Like, did you do like voice editing on that? That was nice.
No, no. I was thinking when doing that, maybe I should do more voice work because I host a lot of things. I'm using my voice a lot publicly speaking. I just feel like it's a lot of fun doing voice work.
Yeah, that's like super commercial. I loved it. Yeah, like the thing that I love about Rap BLT, and then I just think that, it's going to become more and more clear over time, is that it's like this asset, this new asset between stables and Bitcoin. And I've talked about this on the last live stream, but kind of want to just hit on it again. When you hold stables, number one, the token price is supposed to be stable. I mean, for the most part. I mean, we have had instances in the past where quote unquote stable coins weren't very stable. But take an asset like USDC that's backed and highly regulated and whatnot. It's going to be a dollar. Dollar's a dollar, right? And so you can take that stable coin into DeFi and you can earn yield on it. You can earn yield on it on Coinbase. You can earn yield on it in the on-chain economy. But the expected yield output, is fairly low, like 10% or less usually. Um, and then you have an asset like Bitcoin if you're just holding Bitcoin, right? And so you're subject to price volatility, so the price of Bitcoin going up or down. But you could still take Bitcoin and earn yield on it. And in on-chain and in DeFi, you can LP it and earn yield on it. You can lend it out, etc. But again, the expected yield on that, while higher than stables, is still pretty low. It's not as high. And that's the beauty of, I think, Wrap BLT is that you're kind of taking the best of both worlds from both of those situations and combining them. And so you're taking the stability feature of USDC and putting that into the sandwich as USDC, right? And you're not taking 100% of the stability feature, but you're taking a large portion of it. And so Wrap BLT has a more stable price volatility than if you were just holding Bitcoin by itself, right? That it has that feature built in. And then, you take the volatility of just Bitcoin and just ETH and, what we would call price exposure, and then you put that into the sandwich, right? So like Wrap BLT was named Wrap BLT because it is a sandwich. I mean, you're taking these different ingredients, these different assets, and you're combining them into one asset. And so what you get is you get this asset that its goal. It's not a promise. It's a goal. Its goal should be that it's more stable than Bitcoin or ETH, has a higher yield generating potential than both stables or Bitcoin or ETH by itself. And it's instantly redeemable. There's no, you need to wait 2 hours or anything like that. Instantly redeemable. And that capital is not just, being borrowed against, or lending, but it's being deployed into the on-chain economy for spot liquidity, for routing liquidity. And then you can choose to use it as like collateral if you wanted to, or to pair it. And so we're stacking, I mean, again, the sandwich, right? We're stacking not only like features and attributes that we think are really good from different assets, but we're also stacking yield sources and revenue sources that are all supporting this asset. And that's inherently like, a vault strategy, right? Like we want we want to make we think that like for everyday people to come on chain, it needs to be pretty simple. And we're not there yet in simplifying what we're building, but we will get there. And Wrap BLT is an asset that abstracts away so much complexity. And I don't think that most people realize it yet. But like Wrap BLT, you can get Wrap BLT by doing a simple swap on pretty much any mainstream aggregator, right? Like 0x, Kyber, Matcha, Odos, etc. And it's like one swap, right? Like USDC to Wrap BLT, Bitcoin to Wrap BLT, like but to have obtained Wrap BLT, and if that wasn't the case, oh my gosh, like you have to do so much work as the user, and that would require like teaching someone so many concepts and walking them through so many different steps to be able to do this. Okay, first you need to understand what perp market making liquidity is, and then you need to go and look at the asset that has the lowest dynamic fees, and then okay, you don't have that asset, so now we need to go to an aggregator, we need to buy that asset, we need to come back to BMX Classic. I mean, this is how it was operating for a lot of years. And the fact that we've been able to simplify all of that to just one simple swap for this asset that is doing so much on chain is pretty incredible. And so I think, sometimes people want things to happen faster, like, this culture of like, I want it now, I want it today.
Instant gratification. Yeah.
Yeah, if like on Amazon, right, 2-day delivery is like suboptimal now. It's like we want same day delivery. Uh, but it's just yeah. So I don't know. I think that we're building definitely long term. I mean, that's something that we've always said. But I think that we're building this new vault token asset class, and I think that I mean, in our application of it, we're definitely first. But I think overall, like there are other yield bearing vault tokens. They're not necessarily doing pairing it with other assets or anything like that yet. But I think that we're definitely like in the lead across most chains, kind of in this meta. And I think that once now that we've built out all of this infra, I mean, infra is a moat, and that's another thing I don't think people really realize. Like if you can have the rug pulled out from you on infra, that's a
Point
really
of
high
failure. Yeah.
risk. Yeah, it's a point of failure. And that's what we experienced. And so we spent a lot of time building out the infra so that we've limited our exposure to that. And another mode is Wrap BLT itself. And so like as a DEX, having Wrap BLT as our base pair asset, it's encouraging people to explore Wrap BLT and what it is. But I think that as we develop, our first app that just started development, and we're really excited for it. But I think, people will start to realize like, oh, okay, like, all of this stuff they built is infra. Now comes the app phase where we're going to basically show the market, like, we're going to build on top of Wrap BLT on top of Deli Swap. And I think it will be a model for other people to realize, like, oh, I can build on top of that too. And that's, I think,
Right.
really what we want. Like, we love talking to other projects. We love working with other teams. And I think now's a great time to kind of make an announcement, a
Okay,
drop,
you guys.
yeah,
We're getting some alpha here. For
yeah,
those of you that are tuned in, feel free to retweet the stream, share it out so we can get more folks in here. I've been very excited today to hear this. So yeah, take it away, Mew.
yeah, yeah. So before this live stream, I was on a call with my good friends and buddies, Apex from Vail. Shout out to Vail Cash. and Apex and 0x deployer of Bankr. Love those guys, great guys. Just to be very transparent, I am an advisor to Cash and 0x deployer. So just putting that out there. But really great people, really great friends, and have had a blast working with them. And one of the things that we're going to do on Deli Swap, and we've been working with 0x deployer on this, is we're going to integrate Bankr for limit orders, TWAPs, and trailing stops. So on Deli Swap, not only will you get a meta aggregator giving you best pricing and execution across chain, not only do you get the integrated Gecko terminal chart right next to it, so you don't need two tabs anymore, you're going to also be able to do TWAPs, limit orders, and trailing stops. And we're going to partner with Bankr and 0x Deployer. And not only is that exciting, what's even more exciting is that the contracts are already in audit. So they are with Sherlock. Sherlock will be auditing those. And yeah, very excited.
Wow, you guys heard that? I see a bunch of emojis in the chat right now. Dialethea, Callie, bunch of folks excited about this right now. Catch up out there. So yeah, I'm curious. Like, okay, it sounds like moving into the new year into 2026. It sounds like BMX is going to be making some big moves. Do you want to talk about how this is kind of poising the project for success leading into the new year?
Yeah, I think from one of the things we're really focused on is UX, like from a trader's point of view, right? And just like a regular person swapping. So going back to like we want to push everyone into using aggregators. Like there's really no reason in 2025 going into 2026 that anyone should be swapping on a DEX's UI that's only routing through their own pools. Like that would, I mean, it's wild to think that people are still doing that. You know, and you really you should always be using an aggregator. There's no reason not to use an aggregator. And Deli Swap itself is a meta aggregator, which is it's aggregating through multiple aggregators, and so it gives you best price, best execution, and that's what we want to push people towards, and that benefits Deli Swap. Not directly, we don't have fees or anything like that, front end fees, but it benefits us because every trade that goes through a siloed DEX means that Deli Swap has no opportunity to provide that trader with the best route. And so if that route has no opportunity to go through Deli Swap pools, then we don't have an opportunity to get the swap fee for that. So instead of forcing people through our swap fees, we want to build a product for people where they know I can just go to Deli Swap. I'm going to get access to all on-chain liquidity pools through multiple aggregators. I'm going to get access to a chart. I don't need to have two tabs open. I'm going to be able to do, spot swaps. I can do TWAPs. I can do limit orders. I can do trailing stops. And so really just building out the more comprehensive, advanced, and simple trading interface, I think is what people will see in 2026, pretty early for Deli Swap from like the trader's UX point of view, and cheaper. The Bankr integration will have a fee, but the fee is pretty cheap. Let me see if I can find. I don't recall off the top of my head. Give me 1 second and I can tell you.
Sure. I'm also curious to hear Deez's thoughts after.
Well,
after that hot
trailing
alpha.
stops is huge. I don't think that people realize how big that is on a deck side, because it's essentially letting it ride, right? I mean, if you're looking for you're up big on a token on any kind of gain, and one of the hardest things to sell is like, when do I sell? I know I'm in profit? But a trailing stop allows you to circumvent that emotionally, right? And it just keeps following the chart up as high as it goes, whether it's irrationality or whether it's fundamentals, and you can set that to go while you're sleeping. So I am stoked. That's actually news to me. It's that was a live drop.
Yeah, the trailing stop surprised me too. Just on a call with the player before this, and I thought it was just going to be two ops and limits, but we can do trailing stops too. So the fee for the Bankr, so like if someone comes to our UI and they swap, on Deli Swap using our meta aggregator, and we don't have any added fees on that. So that would be like the regular spot swaps. If someone's going to use the advanced order types, so the TWAP, the limit, or the trailing, there will be a fee, and that's the Bankr fee. It's 0.3%, which is much lower than it is now, and much lower than a lot of other UI UXs. So we brought that down. We negotiated that down for sure, because we want our users to get optimal pricing. But there is a fee. It will be a fee for those, and that's 0.3% swap fee for those advanced order types. But again, that's cheaper than most other places on market. And then of that 0.3, the aggregator is 0x. So 0x, they take 0.15% of that fee. And then the other 0.15% will be split between Deli Swap and Bankr. And we don't expect that will generate a massive amount of fees by any means. But that is there, and we're excited for it. So 0.3% swap fee for two ups, limit orders, and trailing stops. And just to be clear, that's on top of a regular pool swap fee. That's it's on top of that. But other places on chain on market right now, I think are around 0.5%, if I recall correctly. So it's not quite 50% cheaper, but a little bit cheaper. But yeah, having one place where you can do all of this, the fees are much lower than what's on market. I think that would be a great thing for Deli Swap, just in terms of the trader product, right? Of it, the
Right.
interface product. And then underneath Deli Swap is obviously the liquidity product, which are our liquidity pools. And so if we want to dive into that from like a liquidity provider perspective, and what Deli Swap is, you know, why they should be excited going into the new year. I think that what you're going to see is that Wrap BLT, especially with future products and scaling up new products, um, more revenue streams obviously flowing to the vault and generating revenue. And if we really want to dive into liquidity, one of the things to kind of talk about is what we've been seeing lately with liquidity across the board, and kind of how liquidity works. So when we look at like blue chips on chain, if we look at a pool like ETH USDC or Bitcoin USDC or Bitcoin ETH, etc., there is an exchange that has done an exceptional job at capturing most of the volume on blue chip pools on Base. And it's been difficult for other exchanges, major or minor, to kind of break into that volume. And the reason why is because the pool swap fees are very, very low. Like, I mean, traditionally, you'll see like point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.3, but these are like 0.048 or something like that, 0.05. And so, like, as a liquidity provider, the risk there is pretty high, that like impermanent loss is going to be greater than the fees generated on those pools. However, because of incentive structures and the protocol's ability to incentivize the pools with emissions, it allows them to kind of offset that impermanent loss with token incentives. And that has made it very difficult for other protocols to tap into that volume. And that's one thing that Wrap BLT aims to kind of compete with. Is we think that in the future, Wrap BLT will be able to compete with infinite emissions using real on-chain economic activity that generates yield to offset the risk of impermanent loss. And we will hopefully be able to drive the swap pool fee down, so that we can start to compete with these blue chip pools. And it will be kind of like a competition between infinite emissions versus real sustainable economic activity. And there's no promise on that real sustainable economic activity will win, but we do believe that when you build, and you build sustainably, and it's a harder fight, but I think that we have a really good chance of being able to tap into that. Otherwise, there hasn't really been a strategy to kind of break through that. I mean, it's It's very hard to break into that. And so that's one thing that's, constantly on our mind. It's one thing, one reason why we built Deli Swap is that we think over time wrap BLT will generate enough yield to help subsidize a lower swap fee on blue chip assets, and then we'll be able to start competing for blue chip volume. Absent blue chips, moving to altcoins, there's a lot of benefits. You know, Pairing an altcoin with wrap BLT means that you're I mean I don't know how much we want to dig into this, but like you're offsetting single asset risk exposure. So like if you pair with ETH and then ETH nukes, then your asset, because it's paired with ETH primarily, will nuke regardless if people sell. But what tends to happen is ETH will nuke, your asset will nuke, and then people holding your asset will get shaky and then they'll sell because your asset dropped in price, and then that drives the price of your asset down even further. And
Right.
so, that's a big benefit of pairing with wrap BLT. The other one is obviously that it's capital that's not just sitting in a swap pool. Like if it's ETH or ETH in your token on a traditional like Uniswap pool, for example, that ETH is just sitting there waiting for swaps to go through it and doing nothing else. Whereas with wrap BLT, that ETH is actively working on chain, providing spot swap, and on the DEX, providing spot swap within BMX Classic, providing perps market making liquidity, and then also receiving revenue from other products. So, it's obviously much. Uh, I like pairing with wrap BLT because it's capital that's being deployed and actively engaging in the on-chain economy and supporting it. I mean, that's another thing. If we just want to talk about like, you know, just the fact that like when you have composable infrastructure and assets that are actively working on chain, it's supporting the on-chain economy, and that's exciting too. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like 2026 I think will be a big year for BMX overall, because you're going to see
Excited.
BMX show up at conferences. BMX will be going to conferences, be definitely uh you know dropping
We should
our
talk
first step.
about that. You guys,
Yeah,
if you're tuned in right
right.
now, you guys
Rachel
can
loves
go.
conferences.
Yeah, I mean, I love going. Listen, there is no replacement for IRL relationship building. On another level. A lot of you watching right now, I've met some of you in person. We've hung out in person. I've built relationships where we show up together, and it just makes you feel all the more like excited about building with one another when you have those foundational friendships. So, I do want to get to everyone's Q&A. I see questions coming in throughout the stream, but I mean, since we're on the topic of conferences, Meow, what are some of the high level priorities going into the new year, like as far as conferences? I wonder if people watching or any builders out there can get to meet folks from the BMX team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 2026 will be the first year where we definitely show up to conferences. We've gone to conferences in the past, but not really as a team. So yeah, 2026 we will be going to conferences and meeting people IRL. We're excited about that. And yeah, I think 2026 is just exciting because it's going to be the year where I think the infra, I keep going back to this, but I think basically the infra is ready, and now it's like, okay, let's just build app specific products on top of all of this. And I think that's just exciting to me because it's just going to be so much easier to pill people into what we're doing. And yeah.
Absolutely. One that I'm excited for. You guys know this. You see my PFP change to my Buffacorn in the ETH Denver season, but I'm very excited for ETH Denver. That is where my Web3 journey really started. So you guys know I'm very passionate about that event. I will definitely be there. I believe some other folks from the BMX team will be there. Don't want to spill the beans too much here unless you guys want to talk about it. But yeah, I think there's some exciting I see Callie. I see a bunch of comments coming in from Dialethea. Wow, a lot of questions from Dialethea. Okay. Maybe we should segue into the community Q&A because Callie dropped a question. Pixel, Gist, Dialethea. I want to make sure that those of you tuned in have your questions answered, and I feel like this is a good portion over an hour in for us to start doing that. So, all right. First question from Callie Crypto. For community members that believe in BMX and Deli Swap, what can we do to help build the project up?
Yeah, I mean, I
Great
think
question.
just show up, show up every day, talk about it. Obviously on socials, obviously helps. Socials are big. But yeah, I think just showing up and talking about it and engaging with the community. I think community building is internally is probably the most valuable, even than external. You know, I think that when you have a really strong internal community, you will drive more external uh, volume, of people into it. It's an internal community is really hard to beat, even if it's small. And that's, I think, what we love about BMX is like we have a strong internal community that's extremely strong and engaged every day, and they have been for years. And so we invite anyone, outside to come and join our Discord. That's where a lot of the
I was gonna
discussions
say,
take
hop in the
place.
Discord. That's where
Yeah.
there's some really active community members in there.
Yeah, I mean, like our community has like super active technical long-term, market participants who have been here for half a decade plus. And they love to talk and they love to, talk about BMX and other projects and stuff like that. So yeah, I think just spreading the word is probably, what helps the most. But if I'm honest, like what I think will drive the most growth for BMX is the performance of Wrap BLT over time. And I think that, in the beginning, we had a lot of altcoins in Wrap BLT as part of the underlying composition. And what we learned over time that it was better to take them out. Basically, the fees that those generate did not outperform the price volatility of those coins. And so, reducing those to just blue chips as the underlying assets has been great. So yeah, I don't know. I think 2026 will be a place where we're able to demonstrate significant growth at the metric level and at the on-chain data level. And I think that's really where the growth for BMX will come from.
Awesome. And Callie has been out there today, sharing about our stream today in the community chat. He's out, on the timeline being very loud. So thank you, Callie, for your support as always. And then I have a question from Pixel. So how is the speed process time for the swaps? With swap platforms, I've used now and it can take a while. So she's asking about the speed process time for swaps.
Yeah, I mean, just go try it. It's pretty fast. I mean,
I mean,
I
it's on
think,
base, so
yeah,
maybe
it's like, I mean, we haven't measured it by the second, but I mean, it's extremely fast. Yeah, just go to deliswap.com and try it. I mean, you can swap any asset and it doesn't need to be anything that is on Deliswap liquidity wise. But yeah, I mean, if you measure it, I don't know, what is it, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, like it's pretty quick.
awesome. And then, okay, my next question here from Gist on Chain. So he says, explain it to me like I'm five. What are different things that users can do with Deli Swap?
Yeah, well, DeliSwap, they can provide liquidity. So they can, and that's the cool part. It's permissionless. You can provide liquidity with any token, wrap BLT plus any token, and then create a liquidity pool and earn fees when trades route through that pool. You can, from the swap page, you can obviously swap any tokens. Coming soon will be the TWAPs, limit orders, and trailing stops for the traders. And then basically, and this is kind of like another drop, I guess, announcement drop. But I think that what we're going to end up doing, and it's not confirmed yet, but in discussion, is basically probably pivot all of the BMX product suites behind DeliSwap. So then DeliSwap, will get rid of the naming of Classic, of Freestyle, and of Carousel, and probably put everything behind DeliSwap. And then on DeliSwap, you'd be able to do spot trades, perp trades based on um, perp trades based on your country, and stuff like that, and then the intent perps also, and then trade NFTs. So then DeliSwap kind of becomes one place where you can do spots, perps, NFTs, provide liquidity, earn yield, earn on chain, participate in the on chain economy. And I think that will kind of make it easier rather than having all these different product names. We'll just kind of like put everything behind DeliSwap into one package. So that's kind of like from a more of like a branding perspective, and trying to simplify the user experience and simplify it in their mind. Because even for me now with DeliSwap Live, it's like, man, we have a lot of websites and a lot of products, and so just
Bringing
consolidating
it all
everything.
together. And you
Yeah,
guys, the
making it
announcements are
cleaner.
coming in hot today from Meow. I guess we got to have them on more live streams in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we're we don't stop working. I mean, I don't care. We don't care what happens in the market, etc. Like we're always building, we're always working, and we're always building into the future. And so,
That's all you can do, man. When the markets are down, you got to double down on building, finding the things that provide the most value creation and ROI. And Dialethea, he's in the chat right now saying, "Bring it together."
It's funny
Shout
being
out to
on this
Dialethea.
call with Meowcat because I have to look over the telegram and I have to we have to really navigate. Okay, which part of the iceberg is actually getting aired right now? Because there's so much
There's a
in the
lot.
pipeline. So the challenge really is just getting the team together and elevating certain priorities. And but yeah, I think Dialethea has some good questions here. I want to
We
keep
have a
hammering
lot
on
from
those.
Dialethea, so strap in, you guys. We have quite a few questions. Wow, just shout out to Dialethea. It looks like he's somebody who's really internalizing this and really providing thoughtful questions here. So, all right, first question from Dialethea. What internal KPIs matter most at this stage? What metrics excite you about traction so far?
yeah, for me right now, I'm still most excited about shipping and building like the product infra and now the app infra. So like when it comes to like, metrics on chain, like, most people are measuring by like total volume, total fees, etc. I'm not yet too concerned about that. Because I know that like that's all a function of routing and of TVL and of volume. And we're still in the building phase of like the apps and the infra and the core components, because we're not just building something for tomorrow. We're building something that we hope to become institutional. And so yeah, for me, most like our team is exceptionally small, right? And we've never raised VC funds. And so for me, internally, I I just kind of measure our success as speed of shipping. And like in 2025, I mean, I don't think people realize how much we shipped. And we shipped a massive amount. We shipped it's the GMX V1 exploit happened. We were the first on any chain to ship a fix for it. And we shipped that fix without having to redeploy the liquidity pool, which is insane. I mean, like the amount of technical work and innovation and thought that went into that is massive. And when you're in a situation where you have an issue with your product info, it's kind of intimidating. It's not the word that comes to mind is panic mode, but it's like we got to fix this, and
Right.
we need to do it as quickly and as simply and as safely as possible. And I think that, man, we just executed on that tremendously. And so that was, a huge challenge that we faced in 2025. And we I think we handled that exceptionally well, that entire process, even our comms from it, and just informing people of updates and whatnot, and the audit process. And then obviously Deli Swap we built and shipped in 2025, which is massive, with two audits and all of that. And then Carousel, we did the entire Carousel rebrand from Base Media X into Carousel. And yeah, I mean, there's probably like a lot more we did too that isn't coming to mind. But in terms of like traditional metrics that people measure, the BMX protocol overall has done like 1.6 billion in volume. And it's, thinking about it as like our DEX just launched 2 weeks ago, like that's pretty much 1.6 billion in volume from BMX Classic, which is our protocol. And so that's, rather significant. We don't have market makers who are doing trades on it, etc. I mean, that's organic volume. Total fees is approaching 3 million for the BMX protocol to date, which we don't have emissions, so that's 3 million in total fees. So yeah, I mean, when I look at our metrics overall, I think I'm pleased with them. I think the BMX has been very successful. Oh, not to mention in 2025 we built out this entire media arm.
I was waiting
My
to say it.
gosh.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
from my perspective on the BMX team, right? A big gap in DeFi and getting new users is education. In creating, being as loud as possible, sharing as many educational resources so people understand and feel comfortable and confident using these tools. So I would say the metrics I'm looking at is more people where the light bulb is going off our media arm growing. So that's something that's really excited me. As you can tell, I get excited about this stuff. But
Yeah, and
Yeah.
really just to touch on that for a second is the what a time with the LMMs crawling, because in the past, pumping out all this data and all this media data, it's tough because it's a flash in the pan, and people aren't really scrolling back through way old videos. Sometimes they do, but now that we're in the age of ChatGPT and things, we have an incredible foundation on YouTube. I mean, huge shout out to Ketchup here,
we got this guy,
across the board
Ketchup,
on
yeah.
on
We gotta have
Spotify
another
and things like that. So pumping more and more out there, when people are discovering crypto and they're coming in, they're asking these chat bots like, hey, what do I do? We've put an incredible amount of fish food out in the market for those
Yeah.
tools to direct people. So yeah, definitely proud of that.
Yeah,
Shout out
I
to
actually
I feel
wrote a
like ketchup
tweet.
also goes with the theme of sandwiches too, and condiments. So maybe I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
there's a something there. I don't know.
yeah,
Can you
yeah.
put
Actually, I
ketchup
wrote
on
a
a
tweet.
BLT?
A little weird. Yeah, I actually wrote a tweet yesterday, and I said instead of renting attention, so meaning like paying KOLs or yappers or any of that stuff, we at BMX Defi built a media arm that has produced 400 plus high quality technical and educational videos. They dive deep into the underlying mechanics of other protocols with the teams and developers who built those protocols. We're builders long term. And yeah, I mean, our media arm has definitely been a huge focus for us in 2025. And we're, there's an evolution there too. I mean, it's not like what you see today, is it? We have some things in the pipeline that we're not going to announce today, but definitely our media arm is a big component of our focus and will turn into a educational media platform.
And yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to show our YouTube as well. If you guys are okay with this,
Yeah, go for it.
I feel very proud of the work the team has done. Catch up, hosting all these as well. Like, you guys, if you go on to at BMX DeFi on YouTube, there are so many educational resources. We have Catch Up making explainer videos, really breaking down all these different concepts as well. So if you're someone that really just wants to dive into your Web3 learnings, your DeFi learnings, this is such a good place to do that. And a lot of these fun also videos here. We try our best to keep it fun, keep everyone engaged, while also constantly be educating. So if you're not subscribed on this YouTube channel, it is a wealth of knowledge. I would highly recommend it. And yeah, just want to show you guys that real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely another way people can get involved is, watching those videos, learning more about BMX and BLT, sharing those videos. But yeah, I think in 2026, like that will definitely be a huge focus for us. And it already is. I mean, we have a lot of things in the pipeline with regard to the media arm.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to put this out there. I know we're coming up on an hour and a half doing this, and I don't know where the time goes when we're talking about this stuff here. But if anybody has any questions, I see a lot of our supporters, Dialethea, Spiral. I saw Waldo out there, Panda, bunch of folks out there, Zero X Pants. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And I know we have a couple more from Dialethea, so maybe we can just chip away at those real quick. So Dialethea's next question is, how are the various integrations with aggregators and the like coming along?
Yeah. So Deli Swap's been integrated we had 0x day one as well as Kyber. 1 inch is hard to get. Shout out to 1 inch if anyone's listening. Let's get integrated. We've been working on 1 inch, but their backlog is just massive. So they generally take a little bit longer. And then Odos is in progress. Open Ocean is in progress, and so yeah, it's just it takes time, to get all of this set up. We have custom aggregation for Wrap BLT through the Mint Redeem, and then we also have V4 hooks aggregation into Deli Swap. So it does place a burden on these aggregators. It's not like they can just push a button and they're integrated. It requires work from their teams, and they don't charge protocols to get integrated. So it's really just about getting into their event lineup and kind of being patient and messaging them smiley faces and checking in on it. But there's not much else to do other than wait for their timelines, and that's fine. We have 0x, we have Kyber. and the other ones will follow suit. And then as
Awesome.
as each aggregator is integrated, then that opens up Deli Swap to that entire aggregator in terms of routing trades that happen wherever on base through Deli Swap. So we should see volume tick up every aggregator integration, and then I think we'll see, building, this is a DEX, and so you don't. This is a DEX without emissions. Let me put it that way. And so, building it long term is the goal. It's always been the goal. But it's not like we're coming in and saying, there's 10,000% APR, on a pool. And so, we expect slow and steady growth. And then, over time, that growth we believe will compound into exponential growth. But yeah, I think the fact that BMX is a token with zero emissions and it has all of this infra underneath it is, in my opinion, very, very good.
Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I see Dialethea saying bright future ahead. Let's see. Dialethea says, in honor of this stream and all of your hard work to date, I have just increased my BMX stake by 10%. Shout out to Dialethea. We love to see the support and your excitement out there. And yeah, to anybody that's curious who wants to show up, learn more, support what BMX is building, definitely check out the YouTube channel and all the educational resources. And I would say just keep showing up. Join the Discord. You guys in the on-chain media community, you'll see me talk about this a lot. So I'd say just stay engaged and stay curious. Keep learning. And I know we are getting into the end of our stream here. So Deez, maybe you can kick us off on our rapid fire closing.
Yeah, I don't know how rapid fire if we can keep this, but
I know.
We'll
Rapid fire
we'll,
for us is like
we'll give it a title and then we'll
10 hours.
hit the question. Yeah, what's a wish list collaboration or partnership you'd love to see for Deli Swap or BMX for us as a whole?
Oh, yeah. Wish list collaboration. I guess
Other than 1 inch.
yeah, I guess the DeFi mullet would be pretty awesome. I mean, just being able to do one swap from any blue chip asset into wrap BLT, and even if wrap BLT could just be held as a token in a wallet. It doesn't need to be paired or used as collateral. So not a long time ago, but a while ago, we bought the domain oneclickyield.com, and kind of have that in our back pocket too, as like I kind of believe that, like, a protocol can have multiple routes to it, and I think one click yield is an example of that, where like the one click yield UI can literally just be converting stables to wrap BLT, and that's all it is, and function as like a mini app, and you know just one click yield. That's exactly what that product would be. So yeah, I don't know, but probably to choose one would be a DeFi mullet type product.
I would agree. Yeah, we have other conversations to back to evolve on the DeFi mullet as well. Yeah, I want to answer that question plainly, but it's much better to just drop it when we actually have it. Oh, under promise, over deliver, right? So
Yeah, that's the motto.
okay. So, personal question. I don't know who. No, you.
I don't know where this came from.
No, I'm doing it. It's
We're
in
doing
here.
it,
We're
okay.
going. So Meow, you're stuck. You're a
Alright.
cat, and you're stuck on a deserted island. There's sand everywhere. What is your survival loadout, and what's in your bug out bag?
Only BLTs.
Bug out
Bug
bag.
Just a bag of BLTs.
No, I mean, probably just like a Starlink, my laptop, and all my gear, AirPods and everything like that, and JBL speaker.
No water and food,
And
by the way, if you notice. It's like
Yeah, the whole island's a litter
he just
box, so
survives
we're good
off
to go.
of the digital realm.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, probably that, just like a speaker, good music, and access, on chain access to internet, and I'm good to go, dude. Music and crypto. That's about all I need.
It's like on-chain music, crypto, food, and water is like, yeah. Whatever.
Oh, I mean, we can find food and water. It's an island. Come on, coconuts
Yeah.
somewhere.
All right. Well, one question I just want to leave the audience with today is, looking forward towards 2026, is there anything that you want to leave the community with here today?
Don't underestimate the regulatory landscape. I just watched a interview on the roll up. Shout out to Andy, with Esther Price, and very impressed with that interview. I think she shared a lot of interesting information, and I think that 2026 will be the year of regulatory acceptance and support, which has been notoriously not there for many years. And I think that can have dramatic global and macro market movements, for a vast majority of protocols. And so, that's kind of my fair warning to everyone is stay up to date, I think, on the regulatory news and movement and landscape of crypto and DeFi in general.
And I'll add, I've tweeted a couple times the utility milkshake theory. I think we're in a very interesting spot where there's been a concern that the market is oversaturated with too many tokens, too many options, things like that. And I kind of tie it into like the ideal partner. I'd rather have my girlfriend have a lot of exes than not, actually, because I want the perspective there. I really do.
Mm.
And so I think the market has more perspective and more exposure to low quality projects and short term tokens than it ever has in the past. And so when we move into 2026, hopefully that feeling of kind of discussed with things that aren't taken very seriously, things like that. I think the options to deploy capital in serious projects and in projects that have good infrastructure is actually the ratio is probably as high as it ever was. The competition was actually really a lot bigger back in 2021 because the curiosity and the fundamentals really drove the development. But the past 3 years, we've seen, kind of a bastardization where speed to market has overcome the quality of projects, which means on the other token, the teams in the trenches who are really just focused on the fundamentals, there's less of them. And token supplies are still only finite in these projects. So, utility milkshake theory, that's what I'm putting out there. So we'll see if
Gauji
it comes
says
to
he loves
fruition.
that phrase, utility milkshake. Great phrase.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we're super excited. And just kind of reflecting back on like day one of BMX going on base and shipping the docks, the V1 docks for BMX. I mean, like, we've been building what we've said we were going to build in those docks. We've built it, we continue to build it, and it's the same vision. I mean, we don't pivot to an entirely new model for our protocol, based on the trends that happen. We've been building the same thing we've said we wanted to build, which is wrap BLT as our core product, and the ability to pair it with other assets. had a
I
had a
love
few
that.
surprises. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've had a few surprises, with infra being pulled out from under us and having to build the infra that we thought we would be able to build on. And that's okay. I mean, it's only strengthened us and it's only strengthened the project because now, we own the infra. And that's just something that strengthens the project. It set us back in terms of, 6 months of development, et cetera, audits and all of that. But now, I mean, man, I just can't be more excited for BMX. It has more assets, in terms of infra and products than it ever has, and it's all under our house. And we're still focused on Wrap BLT and making Wrap BLT a very strong liquidity asset.
And
And
you said
so,
something, Meow, that stuck out to me about how, you haven't like really pivoted too much. You're sticking to what you said you were going to do. I think that's such a powerful characteristic to have as a project founder. Like, I think if you overly pivot, you kind of lose your identity in that, right? If you're constantly shifting your focus and not following through on your roadmap, I think it's a nice balance to have, right? It's like being aware of what's going on in the market and adjusting accordingly, but not pivoting so much that you completely lose your identity as a protocol.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely met all of our roadmap objectives and more. I mean, we built out an entire NFT exchange, which let me tell you, NFTs exchanges are quite a bit more complicated than even DeFi. It's not very easy to build carousel, um, as it is. And yeah, all of this, drives revenue back into BLT and offsets, risk and increases yield output, and it's all exactly, what we envisioned in those original docs, and to be able to, stand here today and be like, yeah, this is done, this is done, this is done, is amazing. And so yeah, I think 2026 is an exciting year because it's probably going to be a year that's more focused on engagement and being more out there, conferences and yeah, I don't know. It's just coming out of our cave. We're builders, right? At the end of the day, like our core team is a team of builders, and that's why we've been able to this year build out this entire media arm that is Rachel and Dee's and Ketchup and
We will be out there, you guys.
yeah, we're
I
cooking,
go
man.
to as many events as is
Yeah,
humanly possible to connect with you
yeah,
all.
yeah, and we have some things that we're working on in the back that we're not ready to share yet, but we're cooking, that's for sure.
Well, we got a lot of a lot of information, you guys, hot off the press, alpha announcements, you name it. This has been such an incredible stream, and I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in also to listen to our podcast. Just thank you guys for showing up week after week, for listening, for engaging with us, and yeah, we're excited for what's to come in the new year. You guys, we're in the last month of this year, so very excited about what's to come in 2026. Deez, do you have any closing thoughts? I know we're on our rapid fire portion, but you know how we roll.
I don't. I'm just excited about the new year, and I'm glad we have all this info we're sitting on. And yeah, it just doesn't take much to flip any kind of narrative switch. And the fact that we have the nets to be able to capture it now is really great. I mean, so much of 2025, yeah, was dodging bullets with the GMX V1 patch and shipping this Dex was just a phenomenal checkpoint for us. And yeah, we're armed to the teeth going into the new year, and it's great. It's a great spot to be in.
Awesome. Well, for everybody listening, Meow, do you have any closing thoughts or any calls to action before we end the stream here today?
I don't know, man. I'm not like a super pressure person, but yeah, just when you have a day where you don't have a lot going on and you have some free time, like dig into our stuff. Yes, it's a little complicated. Yes, it takes a little time to figure out, what's going on and to understand all of this, but it's because we explain it at a technical level, and we can simplify, we can simplify it, but you're not going to understand it. And I think that's kind of the what we want, right? Like we want our community to understand what's happening here at a technical level, and that's how we distribute information. And so, if you're looking to just look for something that's going to hype the token price overnight and whatever, we're not the project for you. But if you're looking for something that like you want to fundamentally understand at a technical level how what we're building can scale and grow over time tremendously and majorly, then dig into our docs, dig into our videos. I mean, our team spends a lot of time producing high quality educational content and breaking these things down at as simply a level as possible. And there's not a lot of information like that on YouTube or on live streams. Most of the live streams, and not to knock any live streams, but most of them are 2 to 10 minutes a project has to just like spit out all this hype stuff and move on, and those are good too. There's nothing wrong with that, and quick updates are amazing, and simplifying information is great. But our
We're
project's
going
just a little
deeper
bit
than
different.
surface level here.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
taking almost you know what's crazy, actually? Yesterday I did a 2-hour live stream. Today this is an hour and 40 minutes. I feel like you really get to dig into a project during this time. So let me know what you guys think in the live stream comments. If you guys want to see more long form content like this, I'm down to experiment, because I think we can really get into the nitty gritty with these kinds of formats.
Yeah, and if you dig into our docs, it's actually one big text, huge block for a reason, so you can copy and paste it into a ChatGPT, and then chat with it. Ask what's going on, what's happening here. Like in other forms of docs, there's multiple different pages. It's hard to copy and paste the whole thing, but it's actually done with intention, so you can just grab that whole thing and stick it into your favorite LLM and chat with your own tutor. And if you find something that's that has a question, come in and chat with us. We're always updating. We're always trying to improve the way information is not only accessible, but the way it's communicated. So
absolutely. Well, I have a comment here from Dialethea, and I think this is a good note to end on. Dialethea says, grab the sandwich and keep stacking the benefits. So on that note, I think we've had a really successful live stream here today. A lot of folks tuning in. And for those of you who are tuning into our podcast, we are cranking out content every single week. So stay tuned for the next episode of Let's Ride. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, Meow, for taking almost 2 hours of your day today to educate the community.
Of course, Rachel. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everybody.